President Obama takes his message of jobs and the economy to Northeast Ohio. Here's a live picture of James Day Park in Parma. The president is going to speak to supporters there in just over an hour. Good evening, I'm Lee Jordan.
And I'm Chris Flanagan. The president kicked off a cross-state bus tour this morning outside of Toledo. That was followed by a stop in Sandusky this afternoon before heading to Parma for tonight's event at James Day Park.
And that's where we find News Channel 5's John Kosick. And John, the president is definitely hitting areas he needs to do well in come November.
Yeah, no question about it, Lee. This marks the president's 7th visit to Ohio this year alone, but arguably this is the most important trip because the 4 counties that he is hitting on this bus tour, he won in 2008 by an average of 27 percentage points. Now, granted, he only won the state by 4 percentage points, so he really cannot afford to lose many of these voters behind me. The president, in his first stop today in Maumee outside of Toledo, he looked to rally the troops, energize the base, and he did so by playing up that which is most important to them, jobs. Specifically those saved or created through the auto industry bailout, something he's expected to hit hard here in about an hour. The White House estimates 1 in 8 Ohio jobs are linked to the auto industry, and the president is looking to remind voters of the differences between himself and Mitt Romney when it comes to the bailout.
Governor Romney said we should just let Detroit go bankrupt. I refuse to turn my back on communities like this one. I was betting on the American worker. And I was betting on American industry. And 3 years later, the American auto industry is coming roaring back.
Well, the president also looking to paint Romney with the brush as someone who was an outsourcer of American jobs during his time here at Bain. As we look live at the park here in Parma this evening, the crowd beginning to funnel in. The trees providing so much relief with the high heat and humidity here. We expect to hear from the president in about an hour, and we will have a complete wrap-up on newsnet5.com and later tonight at 11. Reporting live in Parma, John Kosick, News Channel 5.
Yeah, John, real quick before you get away, can you tell me a little bit more about the crowd that's gathered there, about how many people seem to be there and what the atmosphere is like?
It's an invited crowd, so the numbers are limited because they wanted to keep the setting kind of with the picnic tables and things like that. And these are the people, many of them that volunteered, went to the Obama offices in Shaker Heights and Parma and got the tickets on a volunteer. So he's speaking to the choir, no question about it.
All right, John Kosick, thanks very much. Meanwhile, another bus is making its way through Ohio to counteract the president's message. Shay Harris is just back from the Middle Class Promise Gap tour tonight. Shay, tell us more about that.
Well, Lee, I got to sit down with Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal and former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, and they had a lot to say. As a matter of fact, I asked them about Ohio Senator Rob Portman and the fact that his name is being thrown around as a potential VP for Mitt Romney. And let's just say it got a little interesting. In a sit-down interview with former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, he continued to drive home reasons he thinks America should vote against President Barack Obama. Health care is one issue that he says should be repealed by executive order if Governor Mitt Romney is elected in November.
He's promised that he would issue executive directives or orders that would allow states to choose whether they want to waiver from Obamacare so they wouldn't have to be part of Obamacare if they didn't want to. In addition, he's called for legislation that would be passed to repeal Obamacare and then replace it with a more consumer-directed, more market-oriented rather than government-focused healthcare system.
Pawlenty says Governor Romney's plan to allow people to buy insurance across state lines will give citizens more options, much like those for automobile and life insurance. And medical malpractice reform is necessary going forward to keep doctors from ordering unnecessary tests because they are afraid of frivolous lawsuits. Pawlenty also says tax equity pertaining to health care is going to also top the list of change.
Because most people get their health insurance, or many do, through their employers right now, and the employers get a tax break for that, but people who purchase it individually don't get a tax break. So let's extend that tax break to them too.
But the biggest news of the day came when Governor Bobby Jindal gave the thumbs up in favor of Pawlenty as a potential running mate for Romney.
Traveling today with Tim Pawlenty, former governor of Minnesota. Yeah, I think he'd do a great job, was a great governor. There's several very, very qualified, very talented folks that I'm sure Governor Romney could pick from.
Now, Governor Jindal went on to say that political pundits would love to speculate about who the VP is going to be, but he says at the end of the day, this election is going to boil down to 2 very different visions for America. In the newsroom, Shay Harris, News Channel 5.